Here it is, your most asked for tips and tricks with Lane and Kevin video, how to repair your historic windows. Now, the anatomy of a window is pretty complex and there's lots and lots of pieces, but the pieces that you're going to be working with the most in this process are your upper and lower sash, your top and bottom rail, and your muttons and stiles. Let's get ready. How do you take that window out? That's always the toughest question. It's actually very simple. These are called jambs, and you're going to have to remove them to get your window out. So as you can see Kevin here, working carefully to remove the jambs from both the left and right side of the window. Take those sash ropes out of the sashes. This can be tricky because they can often be screwed in or nailed in with rusty old nails, so be careful. This is your parting bead. These are going to be found on the left side, right side, and the top of your window. Let's take those out. Now let's get that sash ready for its new life. The first thing that needs to go is this nasty old glazing compound. Now this stuff is either going to come out one of two ways, easily, or it's going to fight you every step of the way. If it starts to fight you, all you need to do is pull out your handy dandy steamer. Doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to be expensive. I bought this one at Walmart. In truth, I picked it up from my bridal store and brought it with me. But applying steam to the old glazing compound softens it and allows you to remove it without harming your glass. So, working all the way around the pane of glass, soften that old glazing compound and remove it. Once you have all the glazing compound out, you're going to want to remove the old glazing points. You're usually going to find 2 to 3 points on each window pane side. Make sure you get those out. The fastest way to lose your pane of glass is to miss a glazing point and try to pop that glass out. Work carefully to make sure those all get cleaned out. And now it's time to strip your paint. Here you see us using our favorite tool, the Paint Shaver Pro. It has a HEPA vac attached to it, so we don't have to worry about any lead particles getting into our lungs or into the atmosphere. But you can also use an infrared stripper, a heat gun, or good old elbow grease. Once that paint is completely stripped off, you're going to want to sand, and sand some more, making sure you get all traces of the old paint off. What you see inside this frame is actually a little bit of primer that I've pre-primed in there in some areas. Now I'm going to start some repair work, and this may be the biggest job you have on any antique frame, but I promise you, almost every window sash can be saved. A little wood glue goes a long way. Sometimes you have to make some extra pieces to replace, but that's easy to do as well. Here you see me using Abitron wood epoxy to fill in some old gouges that were on this sash. I'll let that dry for 24 hours, then sand it down. You can see it sanded down in this part of the video. Then I'm going to cover the entire sash, front, back, and inside that rabbit lip with a good coat of oil-based primer, both sides, and allow to dry. Now, an optional step here, but one that we often do, is we go ahead after the primer has dried and apply our interior and exterior paint colors before we put our glass in. It just saves us some mess in the long run. After 24 hours, it's going to be time to put your glass in.
It's finally happened! What all of you have been asking for so long. I have become a lady. Thanks to Established Titles, an incredible organization out of Scotland that gives you the opportunity to officially change your name to either Lady or Laird. It goes back to the ancient Scottish tradition of landowners in Scotland using the titles of Lady or Lord or Laird. Established Titles allows you to buy at minimum 1 square foot of land in Aberdeenshire, Scotland. They also will plant a tree in your honor with each purchase and give you an official plot number. Best of all, you can officially change your name to Lady or Laird.
It makes an amazing last-minute gift. Established Titles is actually running a massive early Black Friday sale right now. Plus, if you use code RESTORATION, you get an additional 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/restoration to get your gifts now and help support our channel. The first 200 people purchasing a title pack using our link will effectively be next to my plot within a few minutes of walking distance. We can create our own little Restoration Nation kingdom. Established Titles is a fun and novel way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping global reforestation efforts. Its land is on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland. They work with global charities One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future to support global reforestation efforts.
Do yourself a favor. Do something magical for yourself or your loved one today. If you're like me and you find gift giving impossible because all of your friends and family already have everything that they need or want because they buy it for themselves, make them something special today. Make them a lord or a lady with established titles.
Now, if you're reusing your old glass, which you absolutely should, it's going to have old paint on it and you need to clean it off. However, you never want to dry scrape paint. What I'm using here is denatured alcohol and a paper towel. It softens the paint and lets me gently scrape it. Antique glass does tend to have a delicacy that modern glass doesn't, and a scratch can turn into a crack really quickly. Once your glass is clean, time to put it back in. So what I'm doing right now is called bedding the glass. We're going to use our glazing compound. I use DAP 33 that you can find at any box store. Window snobs tell you only to use Sarco putty. It is good stuff, but it's not mandatory. You're going to put it all around the rabbet of your sash, and you're going to lay your glass back in place. Once the glass is back in place, you're going to set your points. That's what I did with that little gun. I bought an antique glazing point gun. They are invaluable for this process. But if you don't have one, you can use push points. Then we're going to run a nice bead of glazing compound all around the window and cut away until we have a beautiful run bead of glazing compound with a clean edge and good contact with our glass. Next up, whiting powder. This gets the very oily residue left over from that glazing compound off of your glass. Now they're ready to put back in. Let's reinstall our sashes.
This is your weight pocket. So this is where you access. The pocket's right in here. You're gonna have a screw or a nail down here. You're gonna take that out and you're gonna be able to access your ropes and weights.
All you've got to do is tie your knot, thread it through your sash roller. You'll get it down under your weight pocket down there, and we'll tie it off, and I'll show you that knot there because we need a specific knot for this weight. After you run your sash cord through your weight, you create a little rabbit hole. The rabbit goes over the weight, through the hole, around the tree, and back through the hole to give you a knot that looks like this.
Now it's time to get those sashes back in. So what we're doing right here is taking the knot that's made on the opposite end of the rope from the weight, and we're resecuring it back into a sash. We like to use a screw. The traditional way is with a nail, but we use a screw because it's just a little bit easier to handle and we think slightly more secure. You'll note up at the top of the window, we have used clamps to hold the ropes in place so those weights are held up while we reinstall the rope. That keeps that window sash from trying to jump back up where it will eventually go before we're ready to place it there. Now our video gets slightly out of order here because we show you with two sashes in and then we show Kevin putting something else on. But the actual correct steps are hang your top sash, then replace your parting beads. The parting beads are the only historic part of the window that we sometimes will sacrifice to the dumpster because they're covered in so many layers of paint that it's often very difficult to get the originals back in place. But hang your top sash, put your parting beads back in, then place your bottom sash. Once that bottom sash is placed, you're ready to put your jambs back in place. Once you've caulked and painted, you have a beautiful, historic, repaired window that's going to last you another 100 years.